Hello, my name is John, and today we'll be reading The Obama Years, A Legacy of Scandal and Deception, Joe Biden's Bizarre Disconnect Regarding His Scandal-Ridden Former Boss, by Ari Lieberman, on FrontPage Magazine, posted December 27th, 2017. Ari Lieberman is an attorney and former prosecutor who has authored numerous articles and publications on matters concerning the Middle East and is considered an authority on geopolitical and military developments affecting the region. On December 13th, former Vice President Joe Biden appeared on CBS with the hosts of This Morning, where he peddled his new book and showered his former boss with praise. During the course of the interview, he was asked about his relationship with Obama and responded with the following: "I served with 8 presidents and I've gotten to know 4 of them very well. I never met any president that has more character, more integrity, and more backbone than this guy does." Then he went completely off the rails when he absurdly added, "and 8 years, not a hint of a scandal." What was perhaps even more outrageous than the statement itself was the fact that none of this morning's hosts challenged the veracity of that statement and allowed it to pass without a scintilla of scrutiny, exposing yet again an extreme bias existing within elements of the established media. In fact, the Obama administration was among the most corrupt and scandal-ridden in recent memory. Biden's comment merits further examination, so let's buckle up and take a stroll down memory lane. Solyndra scandal. The Obama administration provided this failing solar company with $535 million stimulus-funded loan, courtesy of the American taxpayer. Taxpayer money kept pouring in despite the fact that the Office of Management and Budget warned that Solyndra was not a profitable or viable company. But it gets worse. The family foundation of billionaire George Kaiser, an Obama fundraiser, was one of Solyndra's main investors. Can you say quid pro quo? Veterans Affairs scandal. Over 40 veterans needlessly died while waiting to be seen by doctors at a Phoenix VA facility. Another 1,700 veterans were forced to wait for months before being seen by medical personnel. An audit of the VA confirmed that VA officials systematically altered records and appointment schedules in a deliberate and methodical VA scheme to manipulate data to meet fabricated goals. Operation Choke Point scandal. The Obama DOJ utilized the power of big government to pressure banks to cease doing business with industries with which the administration had ideological differences. Gun manufacturers and gun stores were prime targets, even though they had not violated any laws. Eventually, the FDIC admitted to misconduct, bowed to pressure, and significantly curtailed the discriminatory regulations after affected businesses threatened legal action. Gibson guitar scandal. Armed federal agents executed 4 search warrants on Gibson Guitar Corporation facilities in Nashville and Memphis, Tennessee, seizing guitars, electronic files, and other inventory, including wood that was purchased in India and Madagascar. The DOJ alleged that Gibson had violated an obscure law known as the Lacey Act, which made it a crime to violate the environmental laws of another country. Gibson produced an affidavit from government officials in Madagascar stating that Gibson had violated none of the nation's laws. Gibson also alleged that the DOJ was misinterpreting Indian law. Gibson's CEO was a major donor to the GOP, but his competitors, who purchased the same materials and were not GOP donors, were untouched by Obama's DOJ. As part of a settlement to drop criminal charges, Gibson was required to pay a $250,000 fine and was required to donate $50,000 to an environmental group. Gibson was eventually able to retrieve its inventory from the clutches of the DOJ. Fast and Furious scandal. A scheme concocted by the Obama administration that went horribly wrong. The administration lost track of some 1,400 guns that made their way into the stream of criminal enterprises, including those of the Mexican drug cartels. 2 of the guns were found at the scene of the shooting of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry. Attorney General Eric Holder was cited for contempt of Congress for failing to turn over documents relating to the scandal. It was the first time Congress had taken such an action against a sitting cabinet official. 17 Democrats joined Republicans in voting in favor of criminal contempt resolution. DOJ James Rosen scandal. Fox News journalist James Rosen became the target of Obama's DOJ in yet another example of extreme government overreaching. Believing that Rosen was responsible for a leak concerning a policy decision on North Korea, AG Eric Holder sought a subpoena for Rosen's emails, claiming that Rosen had broken the law, at the very least, either as an aider, abettor, and/or co-conspirator. The government's affidavit also accused Rosen of possibly violating the Espionage Act. It appeared that the DOJ was acting like the East German Stasi in chasing fictitious enemies of the state. In a rare instance of bipartisanship, Holder was roundly criticized from all sides of the political spectrum, and Holder himself was later forced to acknowledge that he regretted the episode. Gruber Obamacare scandal. To establish Obamacare's validity, Obama hired economist and academic Jonathan Gruber to give the plan his seal of approval. Gruber was later caught on video and audio making several disparaging remarks about Americans, stating that Obamacare's passage rested on the stupidity of the American voter. Democrats later tried to distance themselves from him and tried to minimize his role in formulating Obamacare, but there was no debating that he was one of Obamacare's chief architects and was paid nearly $400,000 for his services. Gruber confirmed what most of us already knew, that Obamacare passed as a result of a concerted effort by the administration to deceive the American people. Sokolov scandal. While serving as Secretary of State, Clinton oversaw a program meant to reset relations with Moscow and improve ties. The program centered around the Russian city of Skolkovo, near Moscow, with the stated aim of identifying areas of cooperation and pursuing joint products and actions that strengthen strategic stability, international security, economic well-being, and the development of ties between the American and Russian people. The program transferred Skolkovo into a technologically hub akin to Silicon Valley. Sensitive American technology was transferred to the Russians, substantially enhancing their military and cyber capabilities. The U.S. Army and the FBI concluded that Russia had exploited the program for military applications. The FBI warned American technology companies doing business in Skolkovo that Skolkovo project was a means by which the Russians would acquire dual-use technologies and apply them for military ends. According to investigative author Peter Schweitzer, Russian and American companies and individuals involved in the Skolkovo fiasco had major financial ties to the Clintons. Moreover, during the Russian reset period, those entities provided the Clintons with tens of millions of dollars in the form of contributions to the Clinton Foundation, paid for speeches by Bill Clinton, or investments in small startup companies with deep Clinton ties. Benghazi scandal. U.S. Ambassador to Libya, Chris Stevens, and 3 other Americans were killed during attack on the American consulate office. The Obama administration initially denied that the attack was terror-related, and instead peddled the now false and discredited narrative that it was triggered by a reaction to an anti-Muslim film. However, emails later confirmed that administration officials were well aware that it was well-orchestrated, premeditated attack planned by Islamist terrorists had nothing to do with the internet film. In addition, a congressional committee found that the delay in deploying military assets to the theater, which attributed to needless bureaucratic bungling, almost certainly cost those men their lives. IRS exemption scandal. IRS officials taking their cues from the White House delayed, ignored, or rejected nonprofit status applications from groups deemed to be right-wing or pro-Israel. Eventually, former IRS senior executive Lois Lerner, one of the key actors in the scandal, was held to be in contempt of Congress through holders DOJ refused to prosecute. Iran ransom scandal. In a deal to secure the release of 4 Americans held hostage by Iran, the Obama administration gave the Iranian government $1.7 billion in unmarked, untraceable cash, stacked in pallets. The money promptly went to finance Iran's terrorist activities. Attorney General Loretta Lynch was required to sign off on the ransom deal, but no paper bearing her signature was ever produced, despite congressional calls compelling her to do so. Bergdahl Guantanamo scandal. Obama released 5 hardened Taliban terrorists for convicted deserter Bowie Bergdahl. The release of the terrorists was in violation of the National Defense Authorization Act. Obama was required to provide Congress with 30 days' notice prior to releasing the Guantanamo detainees, but he only provided notice on the actual day of the exchange. Consequently, the chief counsel for the Government Accountability Office determined that the Pentagon had illegally spent the money used to facilitate the prisoner exchange. In addition, like Benghazi, the administration tried to spin the story and portrayed Bergdahl as a soldier who served with honor and distinction. Lastly, at least 3 of the 5 detainees released for Bergdahl have reverted to their terrorist habits, placing America and its allies at risk. The dossier scandal. Elements within the FBI and DOJ who were hostile to Trump and friendly to Clinton obtained a salacious and unverified dossier on Trump, which was compiled by a British foreign agent from Russian sources. In addition to being unverified, unreliable, and based exclusively on Russian sources, the dossier amounted to opposition research because it was obtained by agents and operatives working directly and indirectly for the Clinton campaign. Despite this knowledge, the FBI dressed up the dossier to appear as if it were a legitimate intelligence document, and then used it to obtain a FISA warrant to spy on American citizens. Clinton email server scandal. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton used an unsecured bathroom server to send and receive classified information. It is a virtual certainty that many of the Clinton emails were compromised by foreign hostile governments. Over 33,000 emails belonging to the State Department were deleted, and some of Clinton's State Department emails ended up on a registered sex offender's laptop. Clinton was criminally exonerated by the FBI, and Loretta Lynch's DOJ blindly accepted the FBI's findings and recommendations without conducting an examination of its own. FBI agent Peter Strzok, who maintained a visceral hatred toward Trump and was deeply involved in an email investigation, later changed the wording of a memo exonerating Clinton to extremely careless from grossly negligent. The change was significant because the latter language tracked the wording of the criminal statute. FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, who was also involved in investigating Clinton, failed to disclose that his wife had accepted $500,000 for a state Senate campaign from longtime Clinton ally Terry McAuliffe. Uranium One scandal. While serving as Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton signed off on a deal that allowed Russia to acquire 20% of America's uranium mining capacity. While other members of the Obama cabinet were also required to sign off for approval of the deal, Clinton was the only cabinet figure to obtain direct pecuniary benefit to the tune of millions of dollars from entities with vested interest in seeing the acquisition completed. She never disclosed this conflict of interest when giving her authorization. Once in Russian hands, some of the uranium, the foundational material for nuclear bombs, was exported abroad. Loretta Lynch, Bill Clinton tarmac scandal. While Hillary Clinton was being criminally investigated by the FBI, Loretta Lynch, the nation's top law enforcement official, met with Bill Clinton for 30 minutes at a Phoenix tarmac where she says they discussed grandchildren and golf. Later, it was revealed that she instructed FBI Director James Comey to refer to the investigation as a matter rather than an investigation, tracking the Clinton campaign's talking points. Finally, Comey testified in a closed session before the Intelligence Committee that he confronted Lynch with a sensitive document in which it was suggested that Lynch was going to use her authority and power of her office to thwart prosecution of Clinton, irrespective of the FBI's findings. Lynch reportedly stared at the document and then looked up with a steely silence that lasted for some time, then asked him if he had any other business with her, and if not, that he should leave her office. Project Cassandra scandal. In an effort to curry favor with the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Obama administration delayed, obstructed, and ultimately shut down a DEA initiative aimed at thwarting Hezbollah arms trafficking, drug trafficking, and money laundering schemes. As a result, Hezbollah continued to import drugs into the United States, continued to supply anti-American insurgents with deadly explosively formed projectiles, and continued to engage in massive money laundering schemes. The level of corruption and scandal witnessed during Obama's tenure rivals and perhaps even surpasses that of the Nixon years. The administration's legacy leaves a long and wide trail of lies, deception, and government overreaching. Biden's comment on this morning would be laughable if it wasn't so sad. Lastly, whether one opposes or favors Trump, all can acknowledge that but for Trump's victory, many of these scandals would have never come to light because the Clinton administration would have happily swept all the filth under the rug. This video is a production of School of the White Crane. My name is John Brooker, and you could reach me through commentary on this video or through my email listed here. Please share this video with family and friends and on social media. May God richly bless you.